Stop the cap.
Gotta plug this in. Hold on a second. Power is everything. So I'm gonna combine this video with another video, or not necessarily combine, but combine the thoughts of two videos. I have two videos where I was gonna respond to Hammer Strike. And the video was about the uh, black woman bashing industrial complex, if you want to call it that. And Hammer Strike did a video talking about some Arab dude, and I saw the video where this Arab dude and even Phil from the Advice Show, did he actually responded to the video and spoke on it on his news channel, right? And it's got this Arab dude from the Middle East talking about Western black women, African American women specifically, and how they're loud and they're obnoxious and they're this, that, and the third. And it's like one of the things that I've hated about this, this online space, and I've tried to warn brothers about this over the years, is not knowing where the edge is. And I have strongly felt that way about Fresh and Fit, especially Myron, aka Fadil, the Sudanese man, right? Because the problems that we have as African Americans, and we do have a whole bunch of problems that are a byproduct of slavery and Jim Crow and feminism, and the fact that, as a marginalized group of men, in the historical context of this country, right, our women can, use that against us. Right? We start talking about patriarchy. We start talking about submission. We start talking about and operating and functioning as other, races of men, living the American dream. Us being the face of poverty comes up. Us, not being in the position, the police fucking us up, putting us on the ground and stuff like that, right? Like, if you can't protect yourself from white racist police officers, how is a black woman supposed to feel safe and secure in the idea that you can protect her or protect your family, right? So there's a lot of truth in, a lot of what the women, will come with, but quite a bit of it is a valid point, but it's an illegitimate complaint, meaning it's an illegitimate complaint when it comes to, that woman. There's a lot of people in these discussions that are not being honest about what they really wanted. Like even when it comes to the, black women, and they can say, well, black men didn't do this and black men didn't do that and they didn't do this. And even listening to that Catherine Eden, clip about women who are multi-generational matriarchs, right? 3-4 generations of single moms. It's like they have this fear of men, being in control. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, fear of what? If you haven't seen patriarchy in 3 generations. You know what I mean? It's like they go back to this idea of, Danny Glover and The Color Purple, and it's like, but you haven't experienced that. Like, you haven't experienced that, and you haven't experienced, the positive attributes of patriarchy. Right? And then we get, the women that shout, well, I'm going over the fence so I can experience, this patriarchy because y'all men are not offering it, even though they don't really want you to be in a position to offer it. They want it offered, but they don't want you to be in a position to offer it, right? It's this, I want you to be, heavyweight boxer champion of the world with your hands, behind your back, or no arms or something like that. It's like, how the heck does that happen? Right? And so, you have women that'll say, well, the reason why we're belligerent, the reason why we have attitudes, the reason why we're fat, the reason why we're uncooperative is because, you all haven't won a race war, right? Or because the community is messed up, right? Not because, they want to, be in charge and they want to run things and boss bay this and everything. Not because they have their own belief system, but it'll always be tied to, black men. Well, the reason why we're doing this, that is frowned upon in pretty much, all communities around the world is because black men didn't do something, right? Even like when we get to like the women that are wearing weaves, it's because black men are self-hating and they want white women and white women's hair and Indian women's hair, and not because I myself have internalized self-hatred and also believe that this is the ideal of beauty, right? It's always anything that they might think is okay like 5 minutes ago. If somebody criticizes it, it's ultimately because it's a black man's fault somewhere, someplace, for not doing something or not putting something in place. It's always that. So I'm saying we have a lot of problems, as African Americans, and I don't think anybody, both inside and outside the community is unaware of that at this point. And so the mistake, in my opinion, that a lot of black men made, and I agree with Hammer Strike on this, but it doesn't change the reality that we still have these problems that need to be discussed. But the mistake that a lot of black men made is co-signing all these people that have nothing to do with the community, whether it's just Pearly Things or whether it's Fresh and Fit or whoever else. Again, this was a point of contention when I first came online. And because Thug Titian, he was coming with the MRA stuff, and there was some other things going on in the background. Captain Solo's more aware of it than I am. But I always came with the aspect that we have a different history in this country. When we're talking about the relationship issues that we have, black men in America's relationship issues are a direct result of the system of white supremacy. Direct result of the system of white supremacy. And a lot of white men in the so-called men's right activist space, the Paul Elims, they didn't want to have that conversation. Even when it came to Barbarossa, Barbarossa, I don't know, he was like some sort of Afro-Latino or something like that. He didn't want to touch on that. They wanted to come with this sort of race neutral angle when it came to men and feminism and the problems that men were having and how men didn't have rights and we didn't have paternity rights and how we would get screwed in court and all that stuff, right? But I'm like, man, you can't not talk about that without talking about the system of white supremacy. Like if we want to talk about economics and how if a man is truly patriarchal, he's supposed to be the breadwinner, he's supposed to earn money, he's supposed to provide for his family and everything else like that. You can't talk about that as black men and not talk about the way that we have been economically discriminated against and disenfranchised, and how that results in us having issues with our women. You can't not bring that up or just gloss over that. With all the well-documented historical racism in this country, job discrimination, redlining, blockbusting, right? When we did have, intact communities, they ran highways through those communities, namely, Black Bottom and Central Ave in Tampa, Florida. They ran I-4 through that, and they ran I-375 through Black Bottom. I mean, these are just to name it, two communities, but there's other ones. There's ones in, Raleigh, North Carolina, that when they built the highways in 1955, they weren't going to run those highways through white communities. They ran them right through the business districts of black communities. And so when people look at the black community, they go, oh, black community is just one big ghetto, right? And then this is in conjunction with, eminent domain and urban renewal, where they destroyed the black communities, called them blighted areas, and then just stuffed everybody in projects, right? And then, basically from the 70s all the way through the 90s, like what you think of as the black community and the ghetto and the concrete jungles, that all that was created. It was fabricated by the U.S. government and their policies. So I can't separate that out, right? But here you have, these tethers, as Tariq Nasheed likes to say, these foreign black people, right? And they went underneath the radar because, they're black, right? And it makes no sense for black men to sit there as African Americans to sit there. You got a problem with, Africans and Caribbean blacks and all these foreign blacks, right? That think that they're superior to you. Then in the discussions that we're having, because over time they became monetizable, right? Where, and this is the whole problem I had with, people making money, on these topics and monetizing their channel, because I'm like, it was no longer a real discussion at that point. You know what I mean? I was making videos for years, because I had a passion about the topic. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. It wasn't because I was like, oh, let me go and make a YouTube channel so that I can bash black women and get paid for it and be riding around in a fucking Maserati. But that's what it's become. And don't get it twisted, like, the white folks and everything, like the feminism has gone overboard. The overall complaints that modern men, today's men, are making about feminist women, regardless of race, are 100% spot on. Because men never had a voice, before, YouTube and men coming online. We did not have a voice. The mainstream media, they wouldn't address it because they were getting their bread and butter from women. Women watch more television than men. Soap operas, As the World Turns, all these shows, all these networks, the QVC network, and oh, buy this, commercials of, oh my God, isn't this an amazing, necklace? Oh my God, you should buy it. Just dial 1-800 whatever, like all that shit that was going on. They would never throw women underneath the bus. Women are like a sacred cow that nobody can criticize, even when women do foul, egregious stuff. Again, I mean, even again, John Saxton talked about this with that video that's gone viral with the soft white underbelly. If a man cheats, he's a dog. If a woman cheats, it's because the man wasn't meeting her needs. This is the society we live in. Again, going back to Patrice O'Neal and what he said. I hate living in a world where everything that a woman does is just wonderful, but everything that a man does or a man is just a horrible thing. And that is the reality of the world we live in. And when women want to sit there and they want to gaslight men on that, right? But when it comes to Fresh and Fit, who we all know recently got demonetized, and I knew that was coming. I remember when Abba and Preach did their video calling it out. I mean, that calling out, I mean, the black African American men jumping on the bandwagon of these foreign black folks that come in and start talking about the problems that we have with black women so that they can get your dollar, repackage the talking points, and y'all are just over there because you're so giddy about the fact that how you feel inside is being outwardly expressed to the public sphere, right? And I've talked about this with this this black woman bashing industrial complex, and not even just the black woman bashing industrial complex. There's also this even when it comes to just white Western women, where men get a cathartic release when they see women get admonished. That's how much women don't get checked in society. That's why shows like Jerry Springer with You Are Not the Father, or any of these court TVs, if you look at any of these shows, all the ones that admonish women, all the ones where a woman gets caught in her bold-faced lie and the judge doesn't go for it and they get slammed and they get nothing, it's like the men are just out here just ejaculating all over the place. White men and black men. Because that's how much women do not get held accountable in society. To the point that men just sit around and they're like, oh, finally a bitch gets held accountable. Right? You don't see women sitting around watching, prison TV, watching shows like Locked Up. The feminist women that are like, men are never held accountable. If men were never held accountable, you should see women sitting there watching prison shows of men in prison saying, yeah, that's right. Yeah, look at you behind bars. Finally, right? Like, you don't see that. Women don't get off watching prison shows, but men get off watching court TV and watching women get admonished. And if you notice, like the producers, they recognize that. It's not as blatant as what you see on YouTube or what you see online, but they do recognize that. They always have the woman up there. Her story is all fucked up, and the dude's trying to be a good dude and everything. And I hope the kids are mine. And then paternity comes out. The kids are not his. He's up there crying, right? Like there's a whole aspect of exposing women's bad behavior. There was a whole thing with Catwoman. That people had an issue with Catwoman, when Catwoman first came out in the 1960s, because they felt that Catwoman was not being held accountable like she should be. They were like, yo, she can't just get away with what she's doing. She has to be punished just like the men do. She can't just get away. That was actually a discussion. Okay, if you know the history of Batman and Catwoman, they were concerned, the producers were concerned that Catwoman was getting away with shit. And the type of message that would send. But anyway, I have talked about, Fresh and Fit and their grifting, just along the lines of, just pearly things. And black men co-signing these folks simply because they agree, with the talking point, right? They agree with what's being said, and they want to see these women, be admonished. But the thing is like this, and this is one of the things that really just spoke to the grift to me, because both, I don't know what the other dude's name, the other, Fresh, Fresh and Fit, who's Fresh and who's Fit, I don't know, because I don't watch their shit like that, but they one is from Sudan, Myron is from Sudan, and then the other one is from wherever in west of Africa. Okay, not African American men. And Fadil, he's put out, he's said a couple of things with his antics, with Sneeko and stuff like that. First it was he's not a night rider, right? He basically them saying that they don't deal with black women, right? And in comes the self-hatred, in comes and I'll tell you why specifically it's self-hatred, but in comes the self-hatred. Myron doesn't even see himself, or Fadil, he doesn't even see himself as a black man. He got that clip where he got caught slipping, talking about, us white guys. You can find the clip, us white guys. Like, what? How do you have a Freudian slip like that? Right? Us white guys. And then there was the absolute nail in the coffin, which Auburn Preach, pointed out with, getting into internet beefs. And anytime I see somebody get into internet beefs, I know that that's the beginning of the end for them. When you get caught up in internet beefs and you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then you start taking shit, you don't have an argument, so you start attacking the person personally. I'm like, oh, that's the beginning of the end. I've seen it enough times. And so, I'm sure many of you all have seen the Ku Klux Klan imitation, the monkey chants, which I can't even believe, his co-host sat there and he said, like, he's never going to live that down. Like, both of them are fucked. Now some people think, oh, they're going to go over the Rumble and everything. In my opinion, they're fucked. I've said this before about, you got to have some level of integrity. Right. I agree with Better Bachelor you got to ante shit up, and you got to, you get more views for the wild shit. I've talked about that, ad nauseum. People like controversy. The whole internet is toxic. You put out self-improvement videos. You put out how to open up an LLC. You put out how to do this and how to do that and be a better version of yourself and whatnot. Self-improvement. Those videos get no views. But the videos where you're up there and you're doing something toxic, or you're doing something wild, or you're, exposing the other gender, so to speak, those videos, views through the roof. They pay the bills. So the viewers are just as toxic as they want to claim that the hosts are. But that doesn't excuse Fresh and Fit, for the grifting. You know what I mean? Because like this is the one of the things that stuck out to me is I'm like, you're a foreign black person in America, right? Even Auburn Preach, they're foreigners in Canada. Preach is preaches Haitian, and Abba is, what is he, Ethiopian, Somalian, something like that, right? And here you got Myron and or excuse me, Fresh and Fit, right? Sudan and whatever other country he's from. The other his co-host is in Africa. Personally, I just think they remind me of like Pinky and the Brain or Ren and Stimpy. Both of them, both actually, Abba and Preach and Fresh and Fit remind me of like Pinky and the Brain and Ren and Stimpy. Like they, even the height thing, and like, who's like the brain versus like who's like supposed to be the comedic relief. In any event, Fresh and Fit, the other guy, the other African dude, I feel like he was just like along for the ride. I don't know what the hell he ever brought to the table. I really just don't know. He was just there. He was a day one, sort of thing. But I'm saying, when it comes to, Fidel, I'm like, I don't get I never got his anger. Like, I'm African American, right? I got the history here. I got roots here, right? As an African American, right? All the shit that we go through, the racism, the discrimination, the belligerence, we got to deal with our own. I don't have a pool. I can't be like the foreigners always kill me. Like, because I'm like, motherfucker, you could always just go back home and get you a village bitch and wife her up and bring her over here, and now you got all the traditionalism that you want. You know what I mean? Like, I see that with my Pakistani friends. Like, they'll do that shit. Like, they'll be like, they'll marry a chick here, get divorced, and then be on their second wife talking about, man, I need to go back. I need to go back to Pakistan. I need to go back to Karachi. I need to go back to Lahore, and get me. I need to go back to Islamabad and get me a real wifey, or give me a village bitch. You know what I mean? And I'm like, really? Even though those are like the cities in Pakistan, but I'm saying, like, they'll go just on the outside and get them, traditional woman. She's all, hijabbed up and wearing the abaya, and get them one of them, and they're good. They got a whole pool of women that are as traditional as they want to be, right? As African Americans, like, we don't have that. I see the Somalians, they talk shit. I'm like, nigga, go back to Somalia and get you a bitch. You know what I'm saying? The freaking, the West African Nigerians. I'm like, nigga, go back to Nigeria and get you a bitch. You know what I mean? Caribbeans, Haitians, Jamaicans. Y'all got a reservoir to pull from. As African Americans, we don't have a reservoir of these women that don't have Western orientation. We're in America. This is what we deal with. We don't have something to go through. So for these men to bitch, on top of the fact that the vast majority of these foreign black men don't deal with African American women. They only deal with their own women or non black African American women. So I'm like, what, nigga, what are you complaining about? Right? And I've peeped that, that them, just riding on these coattails, of the people like Kevin Samuels. Right? Riding on the coattails. And I'm not going to sit there and say Kevin, was perfect. Right? I said, I had issues with I'm like, come on, man, you got divorces, you're in your 50s talking about, you can't beat 25-year-olds off with a stick. That's cap, bro. That's cap. You might be able to get you a sugar mama, or not a sugar mama, but a sugar baby or something like that. But the idea that 25-year-old women are running around thirsting for, men in their 40s and 50s is a joke. That's a joke. You know what I mean? But, dudes want to be gassed up with all this. No, men are like wine. We get better with age. Women are like milk. They soil, like all that shit, right? But I'm saying, listening to fresh, like that, the racism, the Klan shit, the us white guys, and then you got a population. I've never heard anything, but I've dated a Sudanese woman from Khartoum. I've never heard anything negative about a freaking Sudanese women. Like, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? They dress too provocatively. A bunch of sharmutas, right? Is that what you're gonna say? No. You know what I mean? That they're loud and obnoxious and not well behaved or traditional. No. So why are you up here talking about you're not a Knight Rider? When he said that, I highly doubt that he was thinking about his own women. He was here for the grift. He probably went home and was like, "Oh baby girl, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about my cousins. I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about you." Right? He went home and he was like, here's some stacks. And it was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're gonna disrupt the African American community and go over there and get the bag and co-sign their shit and their problems. You know what I mean? Okay, I get it, right? Cause he was taking care of his mama on that shit, right? Oh, we ain't talking about you. And again, it's easy for them to conceptualize it because they don't think of themselves as black people like that. I remember when I was dating the Sudanese chick. She said her father told her when basically he came to America first. Then he brought his family over, and he told them when they got here, "I know we don't consider ourselves black people. We would consider ourselves Arab. We speak Arabic, but here you are black." And I remember when she told me that. She told me that her father sat her there, and her father, he was like a Anwar Sadat looking motherfucker. Like that's what he looked like. He looked like Anwar Sadat. She showed me a picture of her father. You know what I mean? And looking at him, I mean, yeah, they is a little slightly different feature set, but like there's no way that you're ever going to look at him and not see a black man. But she said that her father, when after he'd been here for a little bit, before he brought his family over, he knew what time it was. At some point, he must have got a nigga wake up call, but he knew what time. Never saw himself as a black man. Always saw himself as an Arab man, because in North Sudan, they speak Arabic. And in North Sudan, they had a whole history of enslaving the South Sudanese and looking at them as different. The people of like the Dinka people and stuff like that. They got a whole history that they adopted from the fucking Arabs. Okay, so because they're Muslim and they speak the Arabic language and all that, right? That goes into who's the guy that got what's his name? Bashar, what's his name? The president and shit like that got hit up with all type of human rights violations and corruption and all that shit. You know what I mean? That's how they view. That's how the North Sudanese view themselves, right? But when I'm listening to Fresh and Fit, and I'm like, nigga, you got a whole pool of women to pull from. Here, like, I'll even prove my point, right? Listen to these Sudanese men, and listen to what they say about what they think about interracially dating and dating outside of their group.
Do you marry outside of your culture?
Yeah, I mean, if we could relate, but like finding that is rare. But yeah,
I mean, probably like not like too far. Like we were all from Sudan. Like I'd probably like stay in the East African region for the no.
No, not at all? Strictly Sudanese? Yeah. May I ask why?
Tradition, I guess. I've seen how they are, like the Sudanese women, and that's something I'd be looking for.
You see, where's the problem? Where's the black women got too our Sudanese women got too much attitude. Our women are belligerent, and they got we need to go out here and get white women because we can't deal with these bitches, right? Did you see any of that energy in there? I know I didn't. I didn't hear any of them being like, yeah, man, I mean, shit, in Sudan, you can't throw a rock without hitting a single mother. I didn't hear them say anything like that. I didn't hear them say anything about, our women, they like thugs. They out here thug chasing. I didn't hear any of that. Nope, none of that. Didn't hear anything about belligerence, disrespect, attitudes, none of that. And these guys clearly are in the West. They're most likely Canadian. They like, nah, we fuck with our own community. That's what we fuck with. So anytime I see foreign black men piggybacking off of, the issues that African Americans have with their women, I'm like, nigga, you suspect. You suspect. Unless you are a foreign black person and you grew up here and you exclusively date African American sisters or not even exclusively, but you know, you're attracted to them, you date them, you deal with them, and you like, goddamn. But seriously speaking, I'm like, it's even still nothing for them to bitch about. Because they can always go back to their women. They can always go back to their community. I'm not even going to get into the Madonna whore complex. Oh, I fuck African American women, but I'm going to marry my own, because that goes on too. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, when it comes to all this grift, you know what I mean? This is the problem with us as African American men not knowing where the edge is. And a lot of you brothers don't know where the edge is. You go out here, you co-sign the Arab man talking about, black women and Western women. You go out here, you co-sign the Asian man. You co-sign, the African dude. You co-sign the Caribbean dude. And they don't have none of the problems that you have with their women. They don't have none of the fucking problems that you have. But you up there co-signing them, making them money, making them champions of the shit, and they don't have any of the problems. You're not realizing, that they're being the Pied Piper, and you're just like following behind them. Y'all don't realize that shit, and it's sad, because the thing is if you can't sort that out, if you can't recognize that, how the hell would you ever be equipped to challenge, other races of men in the economic marketplace? You can't even see basic shit where you're being suckered and duped. You know what I mean? You don't even know where to draw the line, on your own community. Where you like, yeah, we got problems, motherfucker, but you ain't gonna come in here and disrespect. You know what I mean? These are conversations that we are having. You don't need to be in these conversations. Go ahead and be an African American and go over to some Somali forum and go over there and try to talk about, what's going on in Somalia. Go over there and try to talk about, what's going on with their economy and some shit like that. They'll swiftly, exit you out the room. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't know. No, you're a guest here, and you better be respectful, right? Same thing with the Ethiopians, same thing with the, West Africans and stuff like that. And then they'll swiftly tell you how they think about you. Do not date the Akata. You know what I mean? You have no culture. You are uncultured vulture, right? That's what they're going to say to you, right? But then when we have our problems and we're having our discussions, oh, come on in. It's a free-for-all. Hey, yeah. Right? And they really came in there low key just to be disrespectful. Just to sit there, oh yeah, black African American women, they the problem, they this, they that. Right? And then you come to find out they don't even have a dog in the fight. Oh no, that's your problem. We don't deal with that. We go back to Lagos. Right? Like that's what they do. We go back to Kingston, right? That's what they do. Meanwhile, you sitting there with yolk on your face, looking like a dumbass. You know what I mean? They say they talking shit on you. The problem with the African American is you do not know how to control your woman, right? That's what they do. You the one looking like a fool. They don't care about your fucking plight. They don't got to deal with that shit. You know what I mean? They go home, you know what I mean? And give their woman the eye, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, she goes and does some domestic shit or something. Like they don't deal with these type of issues. Not to the extent that we deal with them. You know what I mean? And if they do deal with them, they'll be like, oh, it's because our women have been corrupted by the African American women. That's what the problem is. They've been corrupted. Because of your, ain't shit. You don't know who you are. Don't know your ancestors' ass culture. Right? Even though they copy our culture all the fucking time. It's really irritating. But, I'm like, dude, you got a whole fucking pool to pull from, man. Fuck out of here. But, yeah, I just want to speak on, us not knowing where the damn edge is. And, not, realizing that a lot of y'all have been had. You know what I mean? All the money that y'all done thrown up. Oh yeah, man, you speaking the real and shit like that. That motherfucker don't give a fuck about you. Motherfuckers taking that money, going right back to his family, going back to his community, and taking care of his shit. You know, I probably took some of that money and gave it to the masjid. I don't even know, because let all of them tell it. Half the manosphere is like, oh, we're all Muslim now. We're all Muslim. And don't be surprised if the imams and the Muslim cats, you know, after, you know, they start seeing a whole bunch of annex and they're like, hey man, you misrepresenting Islam. Like, nah, get the fuck out of here. Nah. We don't accept what you're doing. You know what I mean? And you know, the Muslim population, I'm like, you keep misrepresenting them, they may come to you with all the smoke. They're like, nah, because the Muslims will pull up on you, as the white folks found out. The Muslims will pull up on you. You know what I mean? So, in any event, I just wanted to share this video because, you know, everybody's talking about them getting. We saw that coming. That Klan shit. That monkey shit, you know what I mean? Like, nah, that's it was only a matter of time. I don't even know what they got out of that. I don't know why they would even go that route. You know, and this is the whole thing about knowing where the edge is, knowing what territory not to cross into. You know, and it's like I see this like. As a matter of fact, like I like Tariq Nasheed's like recent content. I didn't like none of his Mac and shit. I hated that shit. It was bullshit to me. You know what I mean? And it was contradictory, because if you really talk about black empowerment and the community and what needs to be done, and you really focus on that, you can't be talking about macking bitches and fucking pimping hoes and all that bullshit. You can't be talking about that shit. You know what I mean? You can't be talking about, you know, our ancestors and hidden colors and all this other shit, and you talking about, you know, how you get money from a bitch and running through bitches and soliciting them for sex to other men. Like, you can't talk about that shit. You know what I mean? But I'm saying now, you know, he's on a more righteous path, I'd say. But you know, he talks about the coon shit all the time. You know, he talks about calling out the tethers all the time. He's been consistent, you know, about that, about these, you know, slick mouth, non-ADOS black folks that come through, you know, and you know, their whole, they don't respect us. There's no respect that's given to us. They literally come through to capitalize on what our problems are, you know, and not enough of us recognize when that is happening. We're not, I don't know. It's like it doesn't register with us. We just hear what we like and we're like, yeah, you know, and then, you know, cause I've seen a bunch of clips of Fresh and Fit I swipe through my Instagram and they'll pop up and I'll see the, you know, what they're, you know, something that is either been, you know, either said by myself, said by Kevin Samuels, said by, you know, Dennis Sperling, said by Dr. T. Son Johnson, and it'll be condensed into this like 30-second clip and really draw the point home. But these are points that were already made. These are points that were made back in 2010. This shit is not new. You know, I think the shit just gets exacerbated because, you know, the economy fucking tanked out. You know, so yeah, and when I say the economy tanked out, not just the jobs, the housing market, you know, $430,000 for your average home, freaking average wage is $56,000 for the average American, is less for black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a lot of young men, you know, again, they've shown all the statistics and numbers, you know, men between, you know, the ages of 20 and 30 are having less sex than they've ever had, and the birth rates are down, marriage rates are down, right? So the whole conversation about relationships is going to be up, you know, and that's where the money is, and the money, you know, right now is to not take the side of women. Women have had their stories told 1,000,001 times. It's to take the side of the men and to expose, you know, the problems that men have, which, I mean, even when it comes to the mainstream media, the mainstream, like, they're just beginning to look at it because it's like, okay, well, we done, you know, like we got to say something, right? Because we're losing credibility because we won't acknowledge it. And they really don't want to acknowledge it. They want a bunch of obedient young men. I'm like, yeah, good luck having your ambitions and your imperialism to go off and fight wars against fucking China and Russia or whoever the fuck else, when you got a bunch of young men that don't have a dog in the fight. They got no bitch, they got no kids, no family, no property. You know what I mean? You think that they're going to go out there and fight your motherfucking wars. You better figure something out when it comes to, men and them being able, to be, the men that they want. You better figure something out. You better come up off of some money. You know what I mean? But you already know the white oligarchy, they don't want to do that shit. Fuck that shit. Yeah, and fuck your wars. You know what I'm saying? So trust me. In a minute, they about to institute the draft. Trust me on that one. They're going to try to force the shit if they can't do it, which is going to equate to a whole bunch of fucking, revolts and all other type of shit. You're going to see the 3%ers out there. Oh, we've been ready. This is what we've been looking for. You know what I mean? And then you got black people. We got to worry about all the white supremacists and everything that are going to look at that as trying to take their opportunity to purge black people and then recraft America in the image that they want to, on some damn near Mormon shit. Yeah, just get rid of the black people. Get rid of the blacks. You know what I mean? Because we got this culture war going on, and if there ever is some serious conflict like that, you know what I'm saying? Like that would be the opportune time to do it. That would be the opportune time to do it, because right when there's, destabilization, people will be out there, trying to steal and get food and stuff like that, and they'll show clips of black people, running in stores, and then and then try to make some sort of moral argument about, who we are, right? Completely ignoring that survival waits for no one. Oh man. Why do Q-tips in your ears feel so good? It's like orgasmic. Oh, feels so good. I know they say you're not supposed to do it, but it feels so good. I want to go to China just so I can get my ears cleaned. Go to Chengdu. All right, is that how you say it? Chengdu, the tea house place. They got it's where people go to drink tea and shit, and the guy comes around and he cleans your ears. Oh yeah, I need me some of that. But anyway. I'm just saying, I just wanted to make this video so I can, put this out there, because, everybody's talking about, them being demonetized. They should have been demonetized. Stupid. You coming on with Klan shit? I mean, if Kanye West is going to get canceled because he's up there, talking some crazy shit about Jewish people, and they not playing that shit, what made them think that when it came to African Americans, that whole Ku Klux Klan shit is gonna fly? That shit makes white people uncomfortable. White people like subtle racism. You know what I mean? They don't like blatant racism. They like the racism that that's really hard to prove. You know what I mean? They're like shit like black people not getting approved for loans. They like that type of racism where you can't really see it, and you're like, well, you got to go in and get the data and see if there were white people who got loans that had the same type of credit and this, that, and third. You got to go in there and you got to dive deep, right? They don't like, Klan racism. They don't like monkey chant race. All that shit is shit that came from white supremacy. He literally is imitating white supremacists. He's literally imitating it. And see, the thing is that's not even something that ADOS black people would play with. Because they know the history, they know what that means. But see, a foreign black person, they think that shit is hee ha ha, fun and games and shit. That's what they think. And it's not. It's not to be played with. Which, is interesting, because I don't think Better Bachelor brought that up. I got to finish watching his video, but I don't think he brought that up, talking about you play with the you play with the bull, you get the horns. Nah, bring up all that other shit. It wasn't just the antics and anteing up. He vaguely touched on it, but nah, it was the fact that they were up there talking that racist shit. They took it to another level. monkey chants and clan shit, nah, you don't fucked up. You doing too much at that point. And thinking that they're making so much money for YouTube that they're untouchable. You know, anybody can be touched. You know what I mean? Like, YouTube don't want that. That's bad for business. You up there talking all that crazy shit. That's bad for business. And so they fucked up. And Abba and Preach's video was 100% spot on. You know, their response was 100% spot on. You know, when Abba made that first video, like 2 months ago, about Fresh and Fit, wow, damn, that shit feels so good. When he made that video like 2 months ago talking about Fresh and Fit and how that was going to be the beginning of the end, 100% spot on. 100% spot on. You know, I think I did a video on that. I think I talked about that. I think I talked about the whole thing. But yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't surprised. You know, YouTube is a little bit more lax than they used to be. You know, they're trying to do this whole, because everybody was leaving and trying to go to Rumble or find alternatives because the censorship on YouTube was ridiculous. Now they just they demonetize your shit, or they what's the other thing they do? Demonetize your shit, or you know, they'll just put it on you know, whatever, the age restricted bullshit. You know, as opposed to just taking you down completely, unless you go up there and you just say something egregious. It literally like has to be egregious at this point, which I think is a good thing, because it should be more or less a free space. But at the same time, no, they're not going to pay you if you start fucking with their money. They're not going to pay you to say the shit that you're saying, and advertisers don't want to touch them. You know what I mean? Nah, that's bad for business. Again, you start fucking with their money, they're going to fuck with yours. And that's all there is to it. Anyway, that's all I got for y'all. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.